Mr. Downing is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the witnesses. This is a really exciting topic for me. The thoughts of AI, I came out of technology. The opportunities are incredibly exciting, but it's also, a little bit scary, on where it goes. And it's interesting. I was talking to Eric Schmidt last year. He wrote a book on AI with the late Henry Kissinger, and he made a comment that I thought was really interesting about being very light on how you regulate it so that we're not blown out of the water by our competition. And then he said that something really caught my attention, but you need to be ready to unplug it. And I wasn't exactly sure what that meant, but it was an interesting comment that I'm still dwelling on. But as a former regulator, we had to deal with a lot of the issues with artificial intelligence as a tool for industry, and really what the implications were. And some of the interesting things we did as an insurance regulator is we were of the opinion that once you wrote down a rule or a law or something prescriptive, it was probably already stale because this is just evolving so quickly. And so what we tried to do to to inform industry on how we were looking at it is all the work we did on that committee was concept-based, not non-prescriptive, because you wanted to kind of guide how we as regulators were looking at it without saying this is what you have to do. And a lot of the questions that came up there is the machine biased? Is the machine bad? Is the machine a lot of this concern about what was coming in it? And I think about the data. As a former researcher, I think garbage in, garbage out. What's the data you're training it with, and what are the thought processes on how broad and how deep that data set is, and what kind of results you have. But the results coming out of it, a lot of folks were saying, well, at least in terms of a regulator, we need to have causation and not correlation. And I don't agree. I think if you have a high statistical probability of getting the same results that from this system, a lot of our life is based on correlation and not causation. I think you can use that, as reality or close to reality. But then, if it's giving you a result you don't like it's affecting a protected class, if it's something that you don't like, that's the public policy decision, not machine bad. And then you have the real, honest conversation about that public policy. And another thing that folks would say on the regulator side very often is, well, we need to be able to look into that black box. And I think about, well, that black box, once you have an n equals close to infinity access neural network, no human can understand that. So what tools do you need to understand that? And this is my opinion, the tool you need to understand that is probably generated through AI. And so you have AI doing that, and it comes back to the ancient question of quis custodiet ipsos custode. Who's watching the watchers? And it's an interesting problem to come up with. But I'm going to start, sorry about, thank you for indulging me on that. But one of the things that I think about a lot is, as a state regulator, states' rights are very important to me. And there's been a big conversation about that. And I strongly favor allowing states to lead on regulation where feasible. But at the same time, it's essential that this technology has the legal and regulatory flexibility to continue innovating and develop in the United States. So I'm going to start with Mr. Reisman here. What role do you think the states should play in regulating AI, or are you of the opinion that this is something that Congress needs to tackle?
Sorry, thank you for the question. I think the first question that we should be asking is, do we need more regulation on AI at all? And we've had an interesting discussion about looking at what powers we already have, whether that's under federal law or under state law, that allow us to address a lot of the questions that we may have about AI. I think that there is one thing that we have seen is for both consumers and for businesses, it can be hard when there's a kaleidoscope of different state regulations. And so there is a value in having interoperable federal standards. I think there is an interesting question to be explored further about whether there may be particular elements that states need to address as a complement but not substitute.
Yeah, thank you on that. And in the interest of time, I'm going to move on. The Biden administration seemed determined to stifle AI in any way it could, focusing more on potential threats than its clear benefits. And I do believe the benefits are strong. So I'm going to move to Mr. Gorfine, please. Could you describe some of the most concerning aspects of the Biden administration's approach to AI, from executive orders to a so-called AI Bill of Rights, and discuss what the impact would have been had Congress passed what the Biden administration proposed?
The gentleman's time has expired, but we will ask the witness to provide that for the record. We thank you. The gentleman yields.
And on that, I yield. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Ms. President.